All right, welcome back to the Consumer Quarterback Show. Coming up, Derek Kobel, Right Way Public Adjusting. We're going to talk about property insurance, adjusting, and the effects of the storm, and what to look for, and how to kind of be that informed consumer around that space. Coming up here in just a moment. Before we do, a couple of hot listings here from the Platinum MVP team at Keller Williams Realty. We've got a lot of listings here in Tampa Bay, so we'd love to help you if you're selling. We can help you get maximum exposure and get the extra syndication through the radio, TV, internet marketing, all of the different places that we feature our listings and promote our real estate properties. We've got a property in Lakeland at 3573 Rain Tree Circle. This is over in Polk County, Rain Tree Circle in Lakeland, 3573 Raintree. Got a great opportunity to own real estate here in Tampa Bay. 3 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 1,760 square feet. You got a water heater that was recently replaced, newer fridge and dishwashers, and just a great opportunity. $45,000 in updates throughout the entire home. 3 bedroom, 2.5 bath. 3573 Raintree Forest Circle in Lakeland, Florida, one of our hot listings from the Platinum MVP team. Now, we also have a property up in Hernando. This one's 3416 Crepe Myrtle Drive, Hernando Beach. Waterfront, bring your boat, bring your jet skis, and enjoy the waterfront living lifestyle at 3416 Crepe Myrtle Drive. 3 bedrooms, 3 bath, 1,864 square feet, totally remodeled and also staged because it's operating currently as a short-term rental. Also have an extra lot next door, and perfect for parking an RV or maybe even building a separate unit there. 3416 Crepe Myrtle Drive, Hernando Beach. You can see all of our real estate listings at PlatinumCoastalElite.com. That's PlatinumCoastalElite.com.
Sun is shining, the weather is sweet.
All right, Derek, so I know you've probably been busy over these last few weeks, man, just kind of answering questions, talking to people about this Hurricane Idalia that came through our area. Luckily, our area got kind of a lighter part of it in terms of the Big Bend, I think, is where the main hit happened, Cedar Key. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah, Taylor County got hit the most. That's pretty much where it hit. I think it was the first storm to ever hit the armpit of Florida. I've got a lot of calls recently in Madeira Beach. A lot of flooding is what we're seeing. Yeah. I actually took a drive up the day after the storm and drove to a lot of the smaller cities, North Florida. Yep. I actually drove into Georgia as well. I'm licensed there. And a lot of trees down on houses. Not as much wind damage as I would have expected, but a lot more flood than anything.
Yeah, that surge just kind of pushes, and they say it's worse to be on that backside of the storm, right, where that storm's kind of pushing up.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, that backside of the storm, especially when the storm came across the state, Jacksonville, the east coast of Florida, and the northern part, definitely should have received some of that surge, but the storm died out before it even got out there. So there is another storm coming that probably going to turn into Hurricane Lee. They're projecting it could be even a Category 5.
Wow.
But it's going to most likely stay off the coast and maybe stay along the east coast, but they don't know yet as of now. But there is another storm out there to
Thank
look out
God.
for.
Yeah, it's always like you're in a rush to hurry up and get things prepared, get all your water, your extra gasoline, food, etc. And then it's like wait, the waiting game is like, oh man, we got to wait now. And then, but yeah, hopefully, hey, look, we make it through. What is it, through September? Like partway through October, we're kind of out of the clear.
September 10th is peak hurricane season.
That's
so
peak. I didn't realize
that. So 80, I believe the statistic is about 82% of the hurricanes come August, September, October.
Okay.
So we're in the busiest month right now.
So even into October, it's going late in October too.
Hurricane Ian was September 28th.
Wow. Yeah, didn't realize that. Okay, so what are the common misnomers in your industry?
So one of our biggest issues that we deal with in the industry is people, again, don't know their coverages. So I just had someone reach out to me from Madeira. He's actually a veteran, so I appreciate. I'm a veteran as well, so I appreciate that last segment that you had.
Awesome.
And this guy, he was in tears talking to me, and he has nowhere to stay, nowhere to live. And one of the issues that he's having is additional living expenses. So typically for a normal insurance claim, insurance policy, you have additional living expenses, which is cost monies that you have in order to live in a hotel, Airbnb, where you can go and live if your house is inhabitable.
Yes.
A lot of these people with flood doesn't cover ALE. So these people that have no wind coverage or no wind damage, where they can't open up that additional living expenses. They have flood damage, and flood only covers a certain amount for the building, certain amount for contents if they're lucky, but no additional living expense. So that is a significant issue that we're finding in a lot of these people that have flood claims right now.
So the additional living expense, is that seen as a rider on your current policy? And so how do you get additional living expense? And is that something that's going to allow you to get an apartment or a hotel for that median time?
Yes, sir. It's typically automatic. So usually you have coverage A, which is the structured dwelling. Coverage B is other structures, fence, anything that's not detached to the structure.
Right.
Coverage C is personal property, and coverage D is that loss of use, additional living expense. So if you actually owned a property that was a rental and your tenants cannot live in there due to the damage, you should be reimbursed up to that limit for however much you were getting per month, because that rental is now uninhabitable. Same thing with your home.
Got it.
So that is the coverage that a lot of people don't know how to use. There are companies out there that can help with the additional living expenses, but for the most part, that flood doesn't cover ALE. So that's definitely a struggle for a lot of these people.
Wow. Yeah, that seems like it, man. So we're talking with Derek Kobel here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, property insurance adjuster, Right Way Public Adjusting, a veteran as well. So support our veterans and the local economy by supporting the Consumer Quarterback Show. You can call or reach out to the hotline at 727-263-3707. Call or text 727-263-3707. And it really makes our day when we get to have conversations with our audience. We really appreciate having that dialogue with you and not just being a one way of communication. We'd like that second communication, commenting on our Facebook post or our YouTube channel, Brandon Rhymes Realty, as well, at CQB Show on Instagram. So, Derek, when you look at these major events and these types of scenarios, and as you said, there's another one right behind us coming up. What should people be aware of right now? What should we be thinking about? And those different policy kind of errors and blunders sometimes, because sometimes it's like, okay, well, was it rising water? Was it a wind event that caused the damage? Right? Doesn't that happen in cases too?
Yes, and I have a lot of claims from Hurricane Ian where there was flood and wind damage. So when a building sustains flood and wind, flood company is going to fight with the wind and vice versa, saying, no, this damage is from the flood, it's not from the wind. So you really need someone on your side to be able to differentiate what was caused by the wind, what was caused by the flood, to really try to separate which carriers are supposed to pay for what damages.
Wow.
So it does make it very a very interesting argument, especially when one carrier says, look, we'll pay for this. This is our, this is what we agreed upon that we're going to pay, undisputed. And then you have the hurricane, whoever the wind policy is with, those adjusters come out and still want to argue some of those points. And it makes it very difficult to get some people from Hurricane Ian still have not been paid. I still have clients that still have not been paid. They have personal property that was just taken away from the flood. And because they can't prove that they own those items, FEMA's saying, no, we're not going to pay it if you can't prove that you owned these items. So something that I would highly recommend everybody do is make, and it's going to suck, but make an inventory of everything in your house.
Right.
I believe there's apps now that you can take a picture of a drawer and it'll, maybe give you a list of what those items are, but create a list at least of the items over, $250 to $500.
Right.
So if something ever happens, you've already got the list. You've got photos of everything.
Yeah.
That is a big issue we're finding when it comes to personal property.
Right. Yeah. Back it up to the cloud. Have it on a list, and worst case scenario, just take out your computer, jot it into a an Excel spreadsheet there. So we're talking about tips when it comes to your insurances, property insurance adjusting with Derek Kobel. And Derek, so so over a year later, I guess almost a year later with Ian, some people are still fighting these claims. And didn't the state legislature make some changes to the insurances? And is that applicable? Are those changes? Do you recall?
New claims. So anything that changed, any laws that changed, I believe in December of last year is when they started making changes. Those apply to new claims that are filed. So any new hurricane claims filed this year through Adelia or Lee or whatever else is to come, those new laws apply. As for Hurricane Ian claims, because that loss occurred before those changes happened, all those claims for Ian fall under those old laws.
Okay. Yeah, and isn't the new law, what was it called, one-way attorney's fees?
One-way attorney's fees.
Yeah.
So,
can you explain that?
Yeah, so attorneys are able to argue and fight for their fees above and beyond the claim if the insurance company does not fully pay the claim, and they force the insured's hands to get an attorney involved, and in return that attorney is able to recover even a penny more, they could try to argue their fees and get their fees paid for above and beyond the claim. That is no longer obviously out there as a law or statute. So now, even if your attorney wins, you still owe your attorney's fees. So some attorneys pre-litigation could charge you 20 to 40%, 20 to 30%, and then litigation, if it goes that route, I believe it's 33 1/3% that they could charge. So, with a public adjuster who can charge, let's say during a hurricane, 10% in Florida, public adjuster charges 10%, the attorney gets involved, has to charge 20%, 30%. I mean, you're taking almost half the claim away from the consumer, and with the hurricane deductibles of being 2-3%, whatever they are, it makes it very difficult for homeowners to fully recover for their damages.
Man, it just seems like that's an injustice in some sense, doesn't it? It doesn't seem like the consumer's winning there. It seems, because the attorney should be able to file suit, and if that claim was somehow again, if it comes down to nefarious activity, or hey, this should have been paid, it wasn't, it's clear cut, it seems like the consumer shouldn't win, but now they're losing in that case, it seems.
I have a case now where we had to go to appraisal for one claim. An appraisal is just where each party is able to get their own separate appraiser. Each appraiser meets up at the property, they assess the damage, and they create their own estimate above and beyond what the adjusters, including myself, wrote. And they try to resolve the claim, and there's a lot of success with an appraisal. We had an appraisal award that was given where we had an insured who had a fence attached to her structure, which we're able to get those paid for under Coverage A because it's permanently attached to the building.
Yeah.
For a fence, it's a permanent structure. If the fence post is right up to the house but not attached, technically that's other structures. That's a huge gray area argument. So we had an appraisal award, for example, where the fence was put under Coverage B, and there was a limit usually on Coverage B for, I think her limit was $6,000. But the fence to replace was $20,000. So you're only getting $6,000, but that fence was attached to the building. So one of the issues we're running into is the insurance adjuster actually just called me this morning and said, hey, I'm the new adjuster, just trying to figure out what's going on with this claim. It's already done. The appraiser signed off. I said there was a mistake. The appraiser already admitted it. He moved it, the fence over to Coverage A. We should be good. And now she's trying to argue against me that they're not going to pay it, although it is owed. It is. It's in their policy. It is owed.
Right.
And they're still trying to argue it, even though they made the mistake.
Wow. And it's because of it's attached to the main dwelling?
Yes, sir.
Got it.
Attached to the main structure. So that is a big gray area, and I'll even talk to adjusters who will tell me, no, that's not covered. Well, we'll let the attorneys, decide that, or let's settle the claim, because technically it is. If this was your house and I was your adjuster, I'd fight for this for you as well.
Exactly.
That's how the policy is written.
So that's right. So you're fighting for the consumers out there.
For the consumer.
I love it. I love it, Derek. How do people connect with you?
People can, my cell phone, you can call me anytime. My phone number is 561-951-7968. Very bad habit of answering that all the time. And my email is derek@rightwaypa.com.
Derek, DEREK, at rightwaypa.com, 561-951-7968, 561-951-7968. Derek, thanks a lot, man. That's some good information.
Absolutely. I appreciate you having me on. It's always good to educate the people.
Absolutely. Appreciate that. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with our final segment today with Shane Socash. Longtime friend of the program, David Reynolds Jewelry and Coin, alternative investment opportunities, gold, silver, platinum, diamonds, rings, and more. Coming up, Shane Socash here on the Consumer Quarterback Show, consumerqb.com.
This is Work Done, and you're listening to the Real Estate Quarterback Show, hosted by my man, Brandon Rhymes.
To get it.